Hi folks, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. So the fly you see in the vise, it's quite an old pattern now, and I'm going to add a little bit of my own twist to it. So without further ado, let's get into it. The vise is a Hanak H460 barbless hook. This one's at size 16, it's on a medium wire and it's finished in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using today is from Troutline. It's the Sumo thread at 30D. As you can see, it's black. Now, as always, with the black nickel hooks and GSP type silks, I'm just going to get a touch of super glue onto the shank of the hook, and then I can just bring my thread on. Now, before I do anything else, and there is a bit to do at the front there, I just want to make sure I've got that thread coated in the super glue that I put on the shank. Now I'm just going to adjust the bead. Now the bead, if I forgot to mention, I'd like to show you the packet, but I simply don't have it. I keep the beads in a little tub. I know it for a fact that it's a Hanak bead at 3.2 millimeters. I think it's rose gold they call this one. And the reason I'm using rose gold is I'm completely out of copper beads at this size, which is what I would prefer for this pattern if I'm perfectly honest. But needs must. At the end of the day, it is just weight. That's what I see the beads as. It's only weight. I like copper, I like gold, and I'm very fond of pink beads for grayling. So first thing I want to do is add in my tag. And what I'm going to be using is some Glow Bright number 3, and I've already taken a small section of that off. And what I'm going to do with the Glow Bright is I'm going to fold it in 4, like so, and then I'm going to dress that up to the hook. Now because I'm using such thin thread, I do have the ability to get lots of wraps on here and still keep a nice slim body. So I'm going to come all the way down to get the length of my body, and I'm going to just finish that up just there. So I don't want a big long tag like that. I want it slightly past the bend of the hook, and then I can take away my excess. Now don't throw away your bit you've just snipped off, because that will do for the next fly. Now, I've got that in place. One of the things, I've just been sent a load of products from Hens, and one of the things that really struck me was this tub they've got here to just hold their crystal flash in. So what I'm going to be using is the KFM08 from Hens, and again, I've already taken a strand out, and what I want from this, like I did with the Glow Bright, is I'm going to fold it over until I've got 4 strands of crystal flash. Then I can dress that up to the hook. Just slip it into the hole of the eye and catch it into place. Now once I've caught it into place, I want to keep it on top of the shank, so I'm just getting it all together, fairly tight, although I don't want to stretch it out. The thing with crystal flash is if you pull on it too hard, it stretches out and starts becoming like a coiled spring, rather than the nice glister effect that you're after. So I've caught that into place, and the reason I've tied that on the top of the shank, for those of you that don't know, the jig hooks here, this RS hook, it's going to fish inverted. So it'll fish in the water like this, and there's not much point in having your sparkle underneath the Glow Bright. So I brought it in on top, so that's the bit that hopefully the fish sitting on the bottom are going to see. Now again, a 3.2 millimeter bead is quite big for a size 16 hook, but it is saved by the inverted eye on the RS hook. So next thing then, I'm going to add in my rib. I'm simply using some 0.1 millimeter wire from Semplify. As you can see, it's a silver wire. Now I've got another little bit, as I say. I've been tying up some of these flies from my boxes. Now the idea for this fly in particular is a bit of a crossover really, and I was first introduced to, I suppose, the style of fly, if you like, when I was fishing a Rivers National on the Tees, and I think it was Andy Croucher who had already fished at international level for England, and while we were all practicing, he gave us this little red tag sort of fly, which none of us had ever seen anything like it, so we all tied a few up for the boxes. And on the River Dart, obviously they were smaller than this, size 18s, but they were really effective for trout, and these were wild trout, so definitely if you're a river angler, I think it's worth having this kind of style of fly in your box. So I've caught that into place, and just make sure that tag's sitting right. Then I'm going to bring it up the body of the fly. Try and keep your turns nice and even. Now, what I've found with this style of fly, when you've just brought a rib across a thread body, is when you start catching fish, and believe me, they will catch you fish, the rib starts to push from side to side because it's on a smooth surface. So what I've got into the habit of doing is just securing that into place with the very thinnest coats of UV resin. You can see from my brush here that I've already taken off quite a lot of the resin. I just want a really thin coat to keep this into place. And then when you start catching fish, your rib won't move up and down the body. So I'll just grab my torch here and we'll cure that off. I do like these new RS hooks are an absolute game changer. So basically what they are is they're the old favourites 450 BL barbless, the Jig Superb, and in my opinion that's been the best jig hook ever invented, the 450. Well named in Jig Superb. But this is the same hook but with an inverted eye, and it really is a fantastic fish keeper. So very often when you're fishing rivers you'll find that you'll get lots of takes and offers, but keeping fish on in the river can be quite difficult. I think Franta's phrase is no escape, and he's quite right. So next thing, I'm going to add a little CDC. I've caught a bit of CDC into my clip here, and I'm going to tie that in to the fly. So I'm just going to remove the little end, leave myself a little tag to tie in. Then I can bring that up, push it in, and a couple of turns just to hold it into place. Then if I grab my hackle pliers, I don't want to use the whole feather here, but I want to get just a hint of CDC. I've managed to buckle that over while I've been clumsily moving around the fly, but I'm sure I'll sort it in a minute. So 1, 2, and then I can work my thread through the fibres like so. Now I did get a question on my YouTube channel asking how I managed to get the collars on this style of fly so neat, and it's simple really. Less is more, and it's a great saying in fly tying. You'll always need half as much as you think. So I'm just going to try and urge the fibres to go back. I won't get them all, but I'll get the bulk of them. A couple of turns just to try and keep them pinned down. And the other thing I was very pleased to see from hens is, you'll notice my number 17 tube is now full. So I've been without this for a couple of years now. I've just run out of it, and I've just never replaced it. And the reason for that is quite difficult to get a hold of. and it's just so effective for collars. Hen 17, very popular. Now, I don't want a whole lot on, so I'm going to just add a tiny amount. Size 16 is a small fly, so you don't need a whole lot of the dubbing. Next thing I'm going to do is just again try and encourage the CDC feathers out the way, and then as I come round, I'm bringing my thread really tight to my bead now. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's really tight on the bead. And then before I come in and finish the fly, I'm going to add a little bit of super glue to the thread so that I don't have to then go in afterwards and clog up all that nice dubbing with super glue or varnish, whatever you're using to finish off your fly. Now just give it a little pull to tighten everything up. The super glue will go firm in the thread, and then I can take away my thread. How would I fish this? It could be fished singly or as part of a team. It's an ideal Euro Nymphing bug. It just screams out that sort of style of fishing. But you could also fish it under a bung. There's lots of options. But I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you've got some little tips out of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.